Hi there. Good evening. I wanted to make a COVID update. There are three things I wanted to talk about. We'll start with the South Park premiere episode about post COVID, and I was able to watch some of it. I skimmed through it because South Park can kind of be long, drawn out, and not particularly funny sometimes. Although sometimes it has comedic gold in it. This COVID episode, in my opinion, was not very good. It was not especially funny, and it was definitely conveying a message that COVID might be around for a very long time. Um, I think that we can get it basically under control. The world governments, the first world, can solve this little problem. Um, but the threat of viruses and other bad things, uh, that's always going to be a factor in this world. Unfortunately, because the powers that be um, will continue to pursue such avenues. Um, so, go ahead, watch it. Oddly enough, it appeared on YouTube, and South Park is very particular about its content being used on YouTube. Most of the time, very little of it is on it. I wouldn't even be surprised if the video's been taken down already. I'd have to go look, but I didn't find it particularly interesting. Um, Usual kind of junk. Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about was my 5 minutes worth of research on the Omicron variant, as well as the Delta variant, and there's always a new one. Um, because there could be thousands of them, and probably are thousands of different versions of COVID. Um, and our governments more than likely know that because it was created in a laboratory. And this is when they've unveiled it to the world because um, in this world, ideally, inventions should be made to better mankind, but most of the time they're used to destroy mankind. That's usually how inventions sort of work. Shouldn't be that way, but it is. And, there'll always be some variation of it. And as I've said in previous videos, like I'm always gonna have a mask, on my person, uh, simply because even if they do lift the mandate on wearing masks, it's really simply a good idea. I mean, I won't wear one when I don't have to, but where I have to, I'm going to wear a mask. I don't find them that uncomfortable. So, a lot of people are, basically crybabies about the whole thing. And that's something that, I'm not especially bothered by. Um, okay, so the third thing, the booster shot. I did another 5 minutes worth of research on that, so I don't know how accurate it is, but um, what I read said that the second dosage of whatever you got, was 50% of the vaccine, and the rest was, I don't know, saline solution or something like that. I don't know, some junk. Uh, Probably liquefied placebo, or I don't know. Not a doctor here. Um, you know, that it didn't help that I threw a bunch of booze on top of it, but hey, that made me very, very, it put me in a physically bad state where I was very, very sick. And, I'm prone to that because of, well, we've gone through that plenty of time, so we don't need to talk about that right now. Let's get on to the booster shot. Now, the booster shot, I'm on the fence about because I hear it's 100% of the vaccine, and I mean the second one, it rickrolled me good. Um, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm not overly enthusiastic about it. Um, what I will say though is that should it become, technically here in Canada, there it's not mandatory unless you're in a particular job to be vaccinated. I've had my two dosages. Um, if it's implied through other means, like the first two, that if you don't have this vaccine, you will be excluded from certain things like going into restaurants and things like that, then I'll be persuaded to take the third injection. Don't really, like that idea, but I would do that. I'm certainly mulling it over. Um, I rather suspect that it will be very unpleasant. Um, but again, the powers that be, if they say you have to have it, then I've learned throughout the years when authority figures tell you you've got to do something, that's it. There's no arguing, and that's the way it is. And, I can't relate to the anti vaxxer crowd or the anti masking crowd, which are usually the same thing. They're usually anything that has to do with COVID, they want nothing to do with it. Well, you can go ahead and live under your metaphorical rock, but the world still exists out there. And, just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's not real. I recently watched a thing from Vice, a quick documentary about bushmeat, actually, and the native black population in Liberia, I think it was, didn't believe Ebola existed. And it's like, no, I'm fairly confident it does. And the numbers, they never quite jive because people will look it up and go, well, Ebola's been around for decades and only X amount of people have lost their lives to it. Which, in the grand scheme of things, isn't really a lot in Africa when, basically everything is a total mess over there. Yeah, that's because they don't tell you the real numbers of things, because if they did, man, would that make your head spin? But yeah, the same thing goes for COVID. Just because you don't believe in it doesn't mean it's not real. Just because, you may go, well, if scientists invented it as a weapon of mass destruction, and what good's a mask going to do anyway, so I'm going to use it as an excuse not to wear one. It's like you've never heard of the simple concept of restricted warfare, which means that, yes, there's a dial on it. Sure, you can put it up to full blast, and then, bam, it's all over. What is I you? I mean, the governments, the powers that be. However, the idea is to kind of have it at as low, scale as possible. And part of that is people obeying the mandates and essentially doing as they're told. It's obviously an inconvenient truth, but people gotta understand that. Because we as a society are being graded on our behavior towards COVID and our reactions, and that's in itself is kind of spooky, but there will always be those who misbehave. That's the way things are. But them misbehaving makes it worse for the rest of us. So, where I'm supposed to wear a mask, I will be wearing one. I wash my hands a lot. I don't really use antiseptic, hand sanitizer because it's, I just don't use it much. I do the proper thing, which is wash my hands with hot water and soap. And take my word for it, I don't have good lighting in this room, so my face does look greasy. But that doesn't mean I don't wash my hands. And B, it's just the lighting. So, yeah, getting back to the actual booster shot. My opinion is subject to change, but as of now, I will take it if it is necessary to go about doing regular everyday things, or it becomes mandated, one or the other. I'm not especially afraid of catching COVID, but you never want to be surprised. Because yeah, it would be a most horrifying experience. Yeah, that's what I got. So, third booster shot? Sure. Maybe. I don't know. Probably. I'll think about it. All those sort of answers. South Park's post-COVID episode. Kind of a lame duck. Yeah, well, there's not much else to say, so I will tap out on this video quite quickly, relatively speaking. This is actually one of my shorter videos, considering. Yeah, so you have yourself a good night, and have a real long good think about what is appropriate for you. Anyway, good night.